Hey, you guys. So, the title of this video is called Should Black People Take Over the Democratic Party? And the answer is no. Here's why. There's multiple reasons why Black people should not be taking over the Democratic Party. And here's the thing. If we go back into the origin of what the Democratic Party was originally about, I don't think many Black people would have took on that opportunity to want to become Democrats in the first place. I think in the beginning, Black people would have already started their own political party and just left it at that. But the game that we play in society, I can see why one may say, well, Black people should take over the Democratic Party because you have most Black people that would automatically vote Democrat, right? Or they'll jump on the Democratic bandwagon, right? But hey, how you doing, Dunny? Sorry about that. How you doing, brother? But no, if we look at the origin of how the Democratic Party came about, especially when it came down to Black people, why would Black people want to take over? Why would we want to take over? And then if we look at the history over the years, when Black people were under the leadership of Democratic parties, right? Most of the mayors in the predominantly Black cities, they were Democrats. Your city councils, most of them are Black Democrats, right? But then you look at the condition of the communities within these predominantly Black cities. What do you see? The ongoing crisis of homelessness, the gentrification, the increase of rent. Not only the increase of rent, but you also got investors coming in, buying up areas, putting business in the areas, which replace those who are in the communities. The increase of property taxes. And not to mention the war on drugs, the whole war on poverty. I mean, this is what Black people got. And Mr. Dunny, I have been involved in doing community activities. I have been involved in, community activism. However, I can even speak on my experience with that. I step away from that for multiple reasons. And one of the main reasons why I stepped away from doing community activity and getting involved in political stuff is because I want to focus on my mental health. What people don't understand, and let's talk about those who are activists, right? They have done so much for the community. They have put a lot of work in it. But the people that they try to represent for or who they thought had their backs really didn't even offer a helping hand. And so, and those who were activists, right? These individuals were pretty much poor. They were poor. They didn't have enough resources. They were going through a lot of chronic health issues, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And they eventually passed away. And I know a few of them. And I said to myself that I don't want to be involved in this. Like, I don't want to continue on with this political stuff because my health is very important. My mental health is very important. And it's a lot of shady business that goes on. So I don't want to play a role into that. I don't want to have to risk myself knowing that it's a lot of shady ass people. But getting back to the point, what has the Democratic Party really done for Black people? You know, we have been under a lot of false hope. We have been under a lot of false hope that things are going to change, things are going to get better. And oh, not to mention, your Democratic politicians, a lot of them are millionaires. So now, do you really want Black people to take over the Democratic Party? Because only a certain group of Black people are going to benefit from the Democratic Party and not the rest of them. You're going to have those, what we like to call the Black bourgeoisies. They're going to benefit the most. Everybody else are not going to benefit. Mr. Dunny, if that's what you subscribe to, you go ahead. But I'm not even going to put that into the category because both FBA and ADOS are very messy. They messy as hell. So no, I'm not going to deal with that shit. They very messy. No, I don't subscribe to that shit. And I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you that. And if we got to go through this again, that's all I got to say to you. So no, I would not be jumping on the bandwagon with the LBA and ADOS. No, that's a definite no. That's a definite no. You're by yourself on that one. But back to what I was saying before. Yeah, a lot of the Democratic politicians that are Black, they're wealthy. They reap the benefits. And if they was to take over, if Black people was to take over, only a certain group of Black folks gonna benefit. And those are the bourgeoisie Black people. Those are the bougie Black people that's going to benefit. Yeah, those are the bougie Black people that's going to benefit only because they see profit. They see the opportunity for themselves. So it wouldn't be a good idea to have Black people take over the Democratic Party. And then we see this woman, Jasmine Corcoran, whatever her name is. You see what's going on up there in the House of Representatives, right? In the House of Congress. You see how she carrying on, right? You see the foolishness and shenanigan. Why would I want somebody like her try to represent the group of Black population? Why? I mean, because I need to really see what type of laws that she has put in place that is going to be beneficial to the Black community in general, or those who live in a lower class community. What type of laws has she helped implement besides going back and forth with the white lady that's a Republican? What has she really done? Because it looks like to me that she's just a celebrity. She's just a star. And it's so funny that you hear Black left, right? Or people who identify being left wing, they make a lot of criticism about the right wing, right? But they don't make no criticism about those who represent the left party. Those who are the liberals. You don't hear much criticism. You don't even hear other Democrats making criticism about other Democrats. Because I don't see the difference. Because their behavior just as much the same as those on the Republican side. They start to act like they Republican counterparts. Al Sharpton, he act just like his Republican counterparts. Jasmine Cochran act like the Republican counterparts. But there's people say black people should take over the Democratic Party. No. Black people are ready to let go of the Democratic Party. A lot of them. They're ready to get away from it because the Democratic Party have shown time and time again that it has failed the black community. But instead of other black folks saying, okay, let's examine what's going on with the Democratic Party and hold them accountable, hold them to the standard. Nah. Well, let's just take over. No, it don't work like that. And then you got the white folks that are Democrats. You think they finna let you take over the Democratic Party? You think the white folks gonna let you take over the Democratic Party? No. Now, it would be smart if someone would have said, all right, let's create a party that is bipartisan. Let's create a bipartisan party where if you have Democratic black people and Republican black people, or let's say you got independent black people here, you got the Democratic black folks over there and Republican black people, and they all come under one roof. Those who are interested, those who are looking for the benefit of the people, they go under one roof. And they, although they have disagreements, they may have differences, but they can find a common ground to help black people in general, as a whole, as a collective. That would have been a better and that would have been a smarter idea. But to say that black folks just need to go in and take over the Democratic Party, that's a form of infantilization. That is very infantilizing to me. Because it's like you're saying that black people is only subjugated to being Democrats. Black people are only subjugated to being liberals. Black people are only subjugated to operate from the left side. To me, I find that very infantilizing. I find that very infantilizing because now it's like black people are not given no choice. If you either you gonna choose this party right here or you going to perish. That's not how we should deal with politics. And this is one of the reasons why I don't really talk about politics as much anymore. That's why I stepped away from it, because it gets draining every time. That's not how you deal with politics by saying, well, let all the black people take over the Democratic Party. No, because you're saying that black people are only subjugated to the Democratic Party. Black people should be able to have an option of what political party that will represent them. Black people should have the option if they want to be left, if they want to be right, which is why I personally don't choose to be either side, left or right. Because it's a lot of things that I can't go with the left on, and it's a lot of things I can't go with the right on. So I choose to be somewhere in the center. I'd rather be able to take some of the information that is valuable to me and use it from the left or from the right. But I should not be limited to saying, okay, you got to choose just this political party right here. No. It doesn't work like that. That's not the way you deal with politics. Why would you want to have black people take over something that has failed them numerous of times? And most of the people that has been in position of becoming politician, whether it be a mayor, whether it be a city councilman, whether it be a sheriff, whether it be a senator or a senate, a congressman, congresswoman, most of them were Democrats. You had more Democrats politician than you had Republican politician. And I'm not trying to put the Republican on the pedestal, but let's look at it. Most of the politicians were black. I mean, most of the black politicians were Democrats. Most of the black politicians were Democrats. And you can look at the cities where there's a lot of high crimes. Places like Detroit. Places like Washington, D.C. And ironically, the White House is over there in the area. But anyways, you got places like Chicago, Gary, Indiana, various parts of New York, Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Atlanta, Miami, LA, Oakland, Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Houston, Texas. Just to name a few cities that is predominantly black or with a strong black population. We done seen the results. Even Cleveland, we could throw Cleveland out there. We done seen the results. We done seen how, and not to forget Memphis. We done seen how things turned out. It did not turn out for the best interest for the black community collectively. And whenever they try to gentrify an area, right, they don't particularly go into the white areas. No. They don't go into the area where it's a bunch of white folks. They go to the area where it's predominantly black people, especially those who are very poor, those who are in a low income range, right? Those areas are more than likely to be part of the eminent domain. Those areas are more than likely going to be torn down. And they're either going to build condos or build like public transit or fire station or whatever, or put some type of businesses over there. And this happens under Democratic leadership. I never seen a Republican or an independent party mayor that runs a city that's predominantly black. I never seen it. I never came across it. I never heard about them. So black people has been tricked into believing that one particular party is going to represent them. But again, you got people that say, well, the Republicans are racist, they don't care, they bigots, etc. Same go for the Democrats. And I get what our ancestor was trying to do in the past. I get the whole idea of the civil right, the civil right bill and the whole voting rights. I get it. I understand why. Because they feel like the only way to be a part of society is to integrate, to gain the resources that is needed for our community. I get it. I understand. But at the end, it backfired. It didn't turn out to be great. If they would have chose to be independent and had their own political party and just work on those political party, I think that the black community will be better off. I personally believe that the black community would have been better off. And it kills me. People say, well, you give into the white conservatism, white ideology, yada yada yada, right? Well, when you're on the left side, guess what? When you're on the left side, you give into white ideology as well. The left wing party didn't start with black people. Black people didn't create the left wing party. Both the left wing and the right wing started by the Europeans. If you look at the history of the left wing party, it came about during the time of the French Revolution. Again, it came around during the time of the French Revolution. The left wing and the right wing. The reason why they did that because you had a leader that was sitting in the middle, right? And then you had a person that was on the left side, and then you had an individual on the right side. Okay? So that came from Europe. That came from France. Black people didn't start no left party and right party. We didn't start that. So when you argue that the right party has this conservatism and just paint it as, oh, they the only ones that's racist. Well, look at the left. They racist too. They're racist too. I mean, what's the difference? It's just one happened to be on the left and the other one happened to be on the right. So what I hear is a bunch of idealism. There's a lot of idealism, but there's no pragmatism. No pragmatism at all. Because the same people that tells you, oh, jump on this bandwagon, let's be this, let's be that, they're not going to put up that fight. A lot of our people ain't going down there to Washington, D.C. and sit down with the president. We're not going to do that. Not as a collective. Hell, you don't see too many of us go down to the city hall and speak to the mayor about the crisis in our community. Not too many of us do it. Maybe about a good few amount of us will do it, but the rest of us won't do it. The rest of us won't do it. So I would like to see how you're going to go about getting black people to take over the Democratic Party. For those who really believe that it should happen, I want to see how it's going to happen. How is that going to benefit? How is it going to work for a collective of people? How is that going to work? What I'm saying is we have to analyze this. A lot of us don't, what I say, a lot of our people don't know enough about political science. People got to have the political knowledge, study political science to really understand the system at its entirety. A lot of our people do not study political science. You got to know, well, what are you getting yourself into? Is it worth taking this risk? You have to think things over. You have to think things over. Is it worth doing it? You have to look at the history of those in the past who tried to come up with their own revolutionary movement and things like that. How did it work for them? What did they benefit? What did they gain out of it? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you a good example. Why there's not too many black folks or just people standing up and protesting against the federal government about the Department of Education? Why? Why not too many people standing up and speaking out about what's going on with the Department of Education? I'm gonna explain why I brought that up. Because according to statistics, right, 70% of Americans read at a sixth grade level. 70% of Americans read at a sixth grade level. Now, that's nationwide. That would have been a red flag right there, right? That's very concerning. So you would think that the federal government would keep the Department of Education because of the statistics. And you got future leaders coming into place, right? You got people who want to get into different occupation and different fields of study. But how can they do that if education is not the top priority? If you say, well, we just gonna let the states take over. Okay. So your president tells you that he wants the states to take over the Department of Education, and the federal government should not have anything to do with education. Again, so if you don't want the government having anything to do with education, then there's no reason why you should have politicians working in the office, correct? I mean, what's the purpose of having a Department of Treasury, the House of Congressmen, if education is not going to be the valuable thing? Because I'm quite sure in other countries, they wouldn't tolerate that. Nah, they will make sure that's a priority, right? In other places. But in America, it's like the federal government said, we going to get our hand off of this and we going to pass it down to the states and let them be in control of the Department of Education, be control of all the extra things. But why too many people are not putting up a fight for that education is not valuable to you? And please don't talk to me about homeschooling, because a lot of parents cannot afford to homeschool their children. They don't have the time to be at home with their kids. Hell, half of them don't even know how to teach the lesson to their children. So homeschool is not going to be the answer. Homeschool is not going to be the answer, because a lot of parents cannot afford to be at home with their kids to homeschool them. And even with that, you still got to follow the curriculum. And Donnie, you're not making sense. We picked the bad time to reproduce. Your argument doesn't make sense, sir. Your argument does not make sense. We pick bad times. This is why, nah. You need to come up with a better argument than that. You really need to. But education has to be the top priority. And if your government say that nah, it's not our main priority, that's a major problem right there. That's a major red flag. And then also, what about medical research? They did something with that, right? They were supposedly try to remove funds for medical research. This is your president. Now that, to me, that's not a wise decision, because let's say if there's some type of foreign disease out there that we don't know about, when you want the medical research team to be involved to make sure they'll know what type of disease it is and come about some form of medication or some type of vaccine to get rid of this particular disease so that way it won't become an epidemic like the COVID-19 was? But not too many of our people putting up a fight for these type of things. You got a lot of black folks saying that the jab this, the jab that, COVID-19 is fake. You don't have many black people that's involved saying, you know what, we gonna do some research about this. We need to find out what type of disease is going on out here that is going to possibly put humanity in danger. So that way there could be some form of vaccine, some type of medication, some type of whatever. Now, what's the fight for those things? What's the fight for medical research and education? What's the fight for those? And you talking about being political, right? You're talking about taking over the Democratic Party. No, I'm not going to answer your question, Donnie. I mean, because this is very important that you guys really understand. Okay, Donnie, I wish you the best. But this is what we got to really understand as a people. When you talk about politics, what are you going to represent? Who are you representing? Because we don't represent each other very well. What principle and foundation are you standing on? Because education should be the top priority. Medical research should be another priority. If not, then what's the fight for? What is the fight for? What are we doing here? Again, there's a lot of idealism, but there is no pragmatism. There is no pragmatism. There's people that come up with a bunch of ideas saying we gotta do this, we gotta do that, but where is your pragmatism? Where is the pragmatism? How are you going to make it work? So that's my reason for basically saying that blacks should not take over the Democratic Party, because we've been lied to, we've been failed, we've been promised so many things, and we get hyped up because we see a black face, we see a black person. Oh, we got a black mayor. Oh, we got a black Congress. We got a black councilman. We got a black sheriff. We got a black commissioner, or whatever the case may be. We got black this, that, and other. But these people don't really represent you like you think. Everybody, all skin folks ain't kin folks. Everybody's not going to represent you. And don't talk to me about Maxine Water either, because Maxine Water is full of it. Y'all, I hope y'all ain't forget that time when she was in LA and all the folks was standing outside for housing, right? And she had the nerve to tell the people to go home. And the people looking at her like, well, why we got to go home? We don't have nowhere to go. That's why we're in line to wait for housing. Maxine Water just know how to put on a damn show. She could put on the show real good. Well, she auntie this, day, and other. Well, auntie wouldn't sit up there and say, well, go home if you know you ain't got no place to go. But anything, she'll try to make sure she'll put up that fight to get you the housing that you need. Right? But Maxine Waters told the people to go home. This is who we look up to. Now, the one that I can give my respect to, two people I give respect to, is John Conyers, the late John Conyers, and the late Sheila Jackson Lee. Those are the two main people I can give my respect to because they at least tried to put up an effort. They tried. The HR 40 bill, they really tried their best to have conferences and discussion regarding to the HR 40 bill about reparation. I give those people their respect because they really tried. But all the rest of them, your Al Sharptons, your Jesse Jackson, Jasmine Cochran, Maxine Waters, nah. These people are putting on a show. These people are entertaining. Now, the late John Lewis, he did a lot of work. He played his role in the civil rights movement. I could give him that credit. But later on, he just started becoming a celebrity. And that's where he operated from, being a celebrity, more than being a politician. So a lot of you politicians want to be celebrities. Yep, that's what it is. A lot of politicians want to be celebrities. What type of black people going to take over? Who are they going to benefit? What is the purpose? What type of black people going to take over the Democratic parties? Because if you're talking about black people as a whole, that's going to be a problem. Because if somebody was to take over the Democratic Party, and as far as black people concerned, it'll be the black bourgeoisies. It'll be the black bourgeoisies that's gonna take over. I can tell you, it ain't gonna be the lower class blacks or the poor blacks. I'll tell you that that's not gonna be the ones who taking over. It's gonna be the petty bourgeoisies. It's gonna be the middle class black people that want to be like the upper class community. That's who gonna want to take over. But let me go ahead and log off. That's it for tonight. That's all my little rants. And for those of you who say LBA and ADOS will do the work, no, nah. That's a bad idea because you already see the direction that goes on with the FBA and ADOS and see what they doing, right? You see how they going back and forth with the antics, disrespect, antagonizing, name calling, right? Nah. No. I would not trust anybody that identify as ADOS or FBA to try to, no. Nah. I wouldn't trust them. Because in the beginning, that should have been a political party. But instead, they don't want to be a political party. They're not looking for political attributes. They're not focusing on things that's political to the black community. They're too busy antagonizing other black people from other countries, or black people who were born here that has parents from other countries. They want to prove that, oh, we are the ones that built this land. We the one that did X, Y, and Z. But you're not doing anything to protect. You're not doing anything to protect the community that you have. You're not doing anything to preserve the history of our ancestors. I don't see many ADOS and FBA saying, you know what, let's go out here and let's study about the landmarks, the historical marks where our ancestors were enslaved in this country. Nah, I don't see that, because every time you turn around, especially with the FBAs, you see that they antagonizing black people from the Caribbeans. There was a video of a boy who identified as being FBA. He was over there disrespecting a black Caribbean man. I think this man was I think he was from Barbados or something. I think this man was from Barbados. But there was a black dude that identified as being FBA, and he antagonizing this Caribbean guy. And that's what you want. That's the type of representation that you want for black people, is to go around antagonizing other black people. Nah, I'm good. Nope, I'm good on that. But anyways, you guys, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I will connect with you all later. Until next time, peace and power, elevation be to all of you. This your girl, Tiffany, and I'm logging off.